love you so much. Gail. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Gail always comes in here. Oh my gosh. With the funniest. I love that she does that. It tickles me. Hey guys. Good to see you. Happy Tuesday evening. Hello. 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 Hey, Miss King. Hey, Donnie. Miss King says, Morgana, what do you think of the prosecution's witness and his schooling? I'm sure Morgana's got words, lots and lots of words. Hello, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Huh? It's such a good movie. It's such a good movie. It's one of my husband's favorites. Hey, Akasha. Good to see you. How are you, dearie? How are you? I have new glasses and I can see everyone. Yay! You guys, StreamYard, it's in beta. I don't know how I feel about it. You see the chat down here in the bottom? Like on the screen? They've never had that option before, and now they have the option, but it's so little. It's so little. It's like useless. Oh, all caught up in the Karen Reed BS. Yeah. I've not been streaming it the last few days because I couldn't even be bothered. I'm so over it at this point, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Unless or until Michael Proctor or Brian Higgins is on the stand, I'm out. I'm over it. I did see the rigmarole about the Shannon with one N, Burgess, whatever his name is, destroying the last expert that was put. Yeah, no, I saw that. I didn't see all of it, but yeah, I saw a lot of it. And yeah, that was good. But, yeah. I just feel like it's Groundhog Day every day. You notice the chat on the screen, Miss King? Yeah, it's just so little, though. They need to make it bigger or let you, change the size of it. But I don't see a way to change the size. I don't know. Thank you, Donnie. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Who, Alessi is a genius? Gail said at this point, I just watch recaps. That's pretty much, ugh. Now, like I said, put Proctor or Higgins on the stand and I'm here for it. I'm here for that. It does have a curl. I know. I've been using some mousse in it. Not much, just a little bit of a curl. I wish it had more, but it don't. Hey, Mary Lou, how are you? Hey, Mary Lou, baby, I love you. Mary Lou. I wonder how it is with a video on. Oh, well, it's the same. I looked. I've tried it out. Alessi is super smart. I bet he had to choose between law school, medical school, and MIT. Yeah. Been looking for me, Mary Lou? Been looking in all the wrong places. Yeah, I came on late today, but Donnie says she moved the patio furniture. Chris is confused. So, you guys, I've got a little update, a kiddo health update for y'all. This is not something I was expecting, but they did blood work at the endocrinologist appointment the other day, right? And something came back. And I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Celiac. Her celiac gluten allergy test was way positive. So, everything she loves is gluten-y. Ramen, pasta, bread, cake. So, yeah, I wasn't even like, the doctor mentioned it. She's like, we'll do a gluten allergy panel and a this and a that and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, okay, okay. Whatever. Yeah. Had no idea. She doesn't have belly issues. Like, she never has an upset belly random upset belly, but not anything like what you would think with a gluten allergy. I know, Miss King, that's such a hard one. Everything good has gluten in it. There are some good gluten-free options now, and it's getting better and better. I know years ago, it was bad, right? And they're making things taste better now, but man. So, not only is all of the gluten-free things super expensive, but now I'm at the risk of her not eating it. She didn't like the bread. Like today, we got gluten-free bread, like sandwich bread, some, what was it? Gluten-free Oreos. We got gluten-free, hi Ruth. Hey Susan. Good to see you guys. We got the gluten-free Oreos, gluten-free bread, gluten-free, what else did I say? Some kind of snack cake, I wanted to replace her, like Swiss cake rolls, because that's her favorite Debbie cake, is the Swiss cake rolls. They're her favorite. So I had to replace that with something, and I found this. You guys are probably familiar with that Schar, SCHAR brand. Their bread is not great. I'll say that. She gagged on the bread. But the little snack cakes they have are really good. Everything has gluten in it. Yeah, so awful to try to follow that diet. Ridiculously expensive. Akasha says you're just going to have to learn to make things different. Like, don't try to substitute bread with fake bread. Substitute or something else. Like, I saw someone make a sandwich all day and they use pickle slices as the bread. She likes pickles. That would be so bomb. It looks delicious. Yeah, she wouldn't go for that. She wouldn't go for that. But I do see what you mean. If I can find like a really good gluten-free like tortilla shell, then I would have better luck with that because it's softer. It's not like that sandwich bread is, you could like break a window with it. It's really bad. Let me see. Annie has a whole line, even the Bunny Grahams. Annie's does have some really good stuff. I would bite the crap out of my lip with some slippery pickle buns. I already know it. I do see gluten causing well, okay, so I Googled that, right? I Googled it. Because you guys know as well as I do, as sick as she's been, right? I Googled, like, what can gluten do as far as, like, immune system and congestion, cough, runny nose. And apparently, yeah. I even read one article that said that it's not uncommon for a constant cough, chronic cough, to be what leads them to find out that someone has a gluten allergy. So, yeah. Not as bready. Yeah. She doesn't like the gluten-free bread. And I didn't think she would. But we had to try it. Now, there is another brand. The brand we tried is the Char brand. There's another brand called Canyon Bakehouse. And I feel like that, if I remember right, because we tried gluten-free stuff with Eli when he was younger, because he did have belly issues, but it didn't help. We didn't have any differences. But if I remember right, the Canyon Bakehouse is a much better bread. So, if anybody has any gluten-free brand items that they have that are tested and true, let me know. Gail says my aunt is gluten-free. She eats the heck out of potato chips. Yeah, Jolie loves potato chips too. And luckily, there are a lot of things that she loves that are gluten-free naturally anyway, right? But she loves those Mike sells puff corn, like the cheddar cheesy puff corn. And, those are gluten-free too, thank God. But yeah. Fun. Now I'm just going to have to figure out how to, which school is almost out. I mean, school's out this week. Friday is their last day. But next year, when she goes back to school, I'm going to have to figure out. She already takes her lunch to school, so that won't be a problem. But when they do like snacks or like somebody brings in cupcakes or cookies for a birthday party or something, I'm going to have to figure that out, I'm going to have to figure that out because that sucks that she won't get to have that when everybody else does, I just don't know how to handle that. But anyway. And something else, I don't know if it's a situation where, and I think every person is probably different, but I don't know if it's a situation where on a special occasion she can have a regular cupcake. You know what I mean? A regular cookie. When it's something like that, I don't know. Like, would that tear everything down? You know what I mean? Yeah, huge life change. I know it sucks. Maybe special treats are okay for gluten. Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out. She has to get, they're going to do a referral for a gastroenterologist, so we'll be, finding out a lot more stuff later. But anyway, like last night for dinner, he was like, she wanted, last night was Monday night, and we have soup and sandwiches on Monday night. So last night, she had a sandwich on regular white bread and some ramen noodles. I mean, I was like, enjoy it, kid, because this is going away. Enjoy it. And then this morning, I packed her a sandwich for lunch, peanut butter sandwich, and a Swiss cake roll. And, yeah, that was it. So hopefully we can like slowly weed everything out. Um, you know, we'll see. All right, I'm ready to get out of this topic. But again, if y'all have any good name brands of things, I'm here for the recommendations because, you know. But I want to move over into this Lilly and Jack Sullivan story again today. If you missed yesterday, I would recommend going back and watching the video that I posted yesterday. It was really good. And lo and behold, I was listening to Gavin Fish last night, and he did a stream last night, and he actually showed some of the stuff from Never a Truer Word. I was like, wow, that made me feel good because he said he thought that he did a good job. And I was like, I thought the guy is pretty smart too. You know, it just kind of made me feel a little, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. A little sure of myself for a minute, you know? So anyway, but, you just found him who Gavin Fish? Donnie? Is that who you mean? Is Gavin? I like Gavin. He's really good. I followed him a lot whenever the Madeline Soto case was rampant at the time. And he does a lot of really good work. I like him a lot. Ruth says, I didn't watch yesterday, but I don't want to leave chat with y'all. Okay, we'll stay right here and you can watch the replay later. You can watch that later. It's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't remember how long it was. It was a couple hours maybe. But I jabbered through some of it, so like I'm doing right now. The first 20 minutes is just jibber jab, right? But I wanted to get over onto this topic of these two kids. So I've been looking off and on all day for an update, and I have not really seen any updates as far as today goes, but I did find a small news clip. Gavin Fish, Miss King. You can actually find his link in the description box. I posted several links to sources in the description box today, so you can find him easily there. Never a Truer Word. Yeah, he's the guy that I shared yesterday. Never a Truer Word. And, okay. But he does a lot of like, you know how the behavior panel does they analyze people's behavior and body movements and things like that. This guy, Never a Truer Word, does more speech analyzing. And I think he's really good. His voice is sweet. I fall asleep to Gavin. Yeah. He does a lot of, like I said, he does a lot of good work. I really, really like Gavin. Okay, so we are going to get into this. Let me share the screen with you guys. Okay, so this is from Your Morning news station, and it was just a brief little, it looks like 5 minute 32 seconds news clip of sort of the best kind of update I can find today. But it's not really an update about the kids. It's more of an update about how, like the title to this video says, the search is turning more into an investigation. So, I mean, yeah, it's always been an investigation, but at the time, all these, we're going on 3 weeks now. searching for these kids, and they have not found anything, right? So the RCMP is now, I think, according to what I've been hearing, moving into an action, like more of an investigation versus a search effort. Not that they're going to quit searching; they're going to keep searching, obviously. But I think that they're like, okay, nothing's come up. We haven't been able to get anything. We haven't been able to find anything out. Find these kids. Let's start turning our efforts elsewhere. So where that's going to go, I do not know. But I want to watch this with you guys real quick, and then we're going to move into some other things that I've found. And yeah, Ruth says, sounds like the Daybell situation. I remember hoping so hard they'd find them. That's awful. Those poor kids. I need to fix my Nightbot thing. It says it got cut off. Kel mentioned that to me yesterday. She sent me a screenshot. She's like, we really appreciate it. And then it quits. I'm going to have to go in and fix that. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look, a little gander at this real quick. And this news anchor is beautiful. God, she's pretty.
Children in Nova Scotia is now in its third week. Nova Scotia RCMP say they are determining their next steps after another ground and air search for 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan took place over the weekend. The siblings went missing from their Lansdowne Station home May 2nd, and police say they have found zero trace of what happened to these two children. For more on where the investigation stands this morning, we're joined from Midland, Ontario by Chris Lewis, CTV public safety analyst and former OPP commissioner. Good morning.
Okay, so this guy right here, he makes a lot of good points. And whenever he talks about the investigation part, I was like, ooh, my ears perked up, because I was like, I think that's probably a very smart choice. I mean, I'm not an investigator. I don't even pretend to be. I'm well, I guess what you'd call an armchair sleuth. I don't know. But this guy seems really smart. Now, let's not take what he says here in a few minutes to heart, because he does say some things about internet sleuths and how they can mess things up, you know. I think that this case has gotten a lot of, I think that there's a lot of internet sleuths that are going hard at this. And I just want to say that I would never want to do anything on my channel to impede an investigation or make anything more difficult for law enforcement. Let me just say that first and foremost, okay? I think there's a fine line between that and where the public has a right to know information. But the public has a right to know public information. You know, we don't have a right to know what the investigators are knowing, because that can impede an investigation, and I'm not looking for that. So, just saying. But this guy kind of gives some, you know, media and interwebby people, you know, some good advice, so to speak.
Good morning.
We'll remember the press conference where the police called off a portion of their search for Lilly and Jack on Sunday evening. What could that indicate where this investigation stands as of today?
Well, when they made that call to downscale the search, at that point they made statements that they didn't believe the children would still be alive, which was somewhat concerning because it hadn't been that long at that point. Of course, it has gone much longer now. They are continuing some searching, but it appears that they're weighing more heavily on the investigative side of this, which of course they're not going to really talk about, given the trying to protect the integrity of that investigation. But they seem to be focusing more on that than actually trying to recover the children, which of course I'm sure they still will, because regardless of whether they're alive or dead at this point, it's awful to even say that, they certainly do want to recover the remains of the kids.
So that's basically, you know, what I heard him say whenever he was talking about it turning more into an investigation. And it makes sense. You know, you start thinking about, well, you've looked these massive woods and water sources, you've turned them over looking for these kids and have come up empty-handed so far. You know, now it's time to use our efforts in a different way. And I would love to be a fly on the wall to know who they're investigating or what they're looking at. So I don't know. I don't know. And I also don't know how easy it's going to be to, when information does drop. I don't, because they're in Canada. I don't know how easy things are going to be made public, you know? I don't know how it works there. So I don't know. Let me see. Okay, this just got a couple more minutes, about 4 more minutes.
You know, people are going back over this timeline, you know, as our police is part of their investigation. Lilly and Jack were first reported missing May the 2nd, and then a nonstop multi-agency search began on the very same day. Then on May 7th, police scaled back that investigation and added that the chances of the children being alive, as you just mentioned, were very low. Then after that, May 17th and 18th, there's this renewed ground and air search of Lansdowne Station. That didn't find any evidence. Does this tell us what that means about the scope of this investigation? Is it narrowing in on something?
I think what it means really is that the RCMP know more about this than we do, which is totally understandable. The RCMP are good at this sort of thing. I mean, they've been conducting huge searches and conducting major investigations for a long, long time. So we have to rely on them and the fact that they know what they're doing. They're led by their investigation. I'm sure they're following evidence and deciding where to go and what to do based on that, as well as tips and other things that they're receiving. But, you know, the speculation in the community and on social media is just crazy, you know, pointing fingers at all sorts of people, which may have had nothing to do with this. So,
and again, disclaimer, same disclaimer I made yesterday. I don't know that mom or dad had anything to do with their disappearance. Or not mom or dad, mom or stepdad. I don't know that. I hope they didn't. I pray they didn't. I hope that nobody had anything to do with their disappearance. I mean, I hope that they're huddled up somewhere eating berries and drinking water out of a creek and they're fine and they're just waiting on somebody to find them, right? I don't know, but it's been an awful long time, right? And I was looking for statistics. Now, I don't know that I found the exact ones. I need to do more research on that, but I was reading last night about statistics on the amount of kids that go missing and the statistics on the parents saying the children went missing when in actuality something more nefarious happened. You know, the parents or the step parent done something harmful to the children, and that percentage is very high. So, and then I talked about Occam's razor yesterday. I think that too is another it's the simplest answer, right? The simplest answer. So, I hope that their investigation pans out quickly and that they get information that they need that will lead them into the right direction. And who knows, if mom or stepdad did have anything to do with it at this point, with them split up, maybe they'll turn on each other if they know. You know what I mean?
We really have to let the RCMP continue doing what they do well.
Chris, I want to ask you about that because people watching this morning have probably read some of those social media posts. And you're right. They, in an information vacuum, I have learned that people begin to fill it in with their own detective work and their own sleuthing and trying to put together clues on their own. What kind of a challenge does that kind of attention bring to a case like this?
Well, it certainly brings attention to it, and bringing attention to it at times isn't a bad thing because it may generate some tips from the public. But, it's really a lot of pushing the RCMP into a corner in terms of trying to get them to say X or Y about who they suspect or what they suspect. And that's not fair to them. They just need to be able to do what they do without that sort of pressure on them. At the same time, it's putting pressure on people because, folks are saying, well, when she said this, when he said that, they're pointing fingers and maybe towards very innocent people. So in fairness to them and the RCMP, that we just need to back off on that and let things happen.
One of the things, Chris, that comes up as well is the fact that if this story perhaps had happened in a bigger center, one of the major, Montreal, Calgary, Toronto, Vancouver, this would be a story that would be headlines every day. 2 young children disappeared without a trace, a massive investigation, yet it doesn't seem to have that kind of attention here in Canada. Is it because
the greater area are just, so much bigger and more powerful than the smaller arm in Eastern Canada? This,
yeah,
but a fairly small population there comparatively, so it doesn't seem to be receiving the same amount of interest, which is sad in many ways, and in reality in others, I suppose.
Chris, what are you watching for in the next couple of days?
Well, I'm waiting for the RCMP to make some sort of an announcement that they've either located the children or they've made an arrest. I mean, they're really looking at the who, what, where, when around all of this and following tips and leads. And I think that big piece of that is a big machine that's happening without us seeing it. And that's the way it should be. But I think we'll hear something from them in the days to come.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh, that would be awesome if we could hear something. And I've been watching the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's Facebook page because that's where they've been posting their press releases, and I've not seen anything new today regarding the kiddos. So, let's see. Miss King says, I understand the need to separate, especially if the mom is trying to just keep the baby safe. But I don't think I could leave the area my child was last at. I struggle with that too. I think, though, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure yet if she left on her own accord or if his mother actually booted her off the property. Because from the sounds of it, that's what happened was she told them to leave. I don't know if her name is on any of the property deed where she would be you know what I'm saying? I don't know if she had any grounds to be no, you can't make me leave, So I don't know if it was on her own accord or if she was forced to leave. Either way, it sucks because you couldn't pull me away. There's no way you could pull me away from there. No. So, I'm going to move over to this next this is something that I wanted to share with you guys because I thought this was really cool. And another reason why I wanted to mention Gavin Fish, when I was watching him last night, he mentioned this website and I'd never heard of it before. So I went to check it out. And you guys, this place is a wealth of information. It's called, and the link to this website is in the description box below so you can find it. But the website is called crimetimelines.com. And it's basically just this big website for case files for missing and endangered people, right? And they've got a lot of cases on here, this being one of them, these kids, but also Sebastian Rogers, Madeline Soto, a lot of, cases that we followed, they have case files on, and they're really good detail. They list their sources, the sources are linked, all that kind of stuff, everything. They have like an actual timeline. A lot of them have like evidence photos, really cool place to scope things out. I would want to be somewhere close. It is not her property and they were not married. Yeah. Hey, Margaret. You're here. You're here. Hi. Hi. So, okay, let me get back over here to this. Just a quick little run through again in case you don't know about this case. So Lilly Sullivan is the little girl, age 6, and her brother Jack Sullivan is 4. Both children live with their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and stepfather, Daniel Martell, on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, Nova Scotia. Says 6-year-old Lilly Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother, Jack, were reported missing around 10 a.m. on May 2nd from their home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, located approximately 30 kilometers from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. According to their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, she woke that morning to the sound of the children playing in the next room. She briefly fell back asleep, but upon waking again and discovering they were no longer in the house, she immediately called 911. Says the stepfather, Daniel Martell, has been deeply involved in the search. He described Lilly and Jack as awesome kids, noting Jack's love for bugs and dinosaurs and how Lilly, while fond of girly things, often followed her brother's lead. They're like best friends, not just brother and sister, he said. Oh, that breaks my heart. Malaya moved to Daniel Martell's home 2 years ago and is a stay-at-home mom. Daniel works at a local sawmill, but work has slowed down there in recent weeks, and he was not at work on Friday. Malaya Brooks Murray, it says family members have raised concerns about the possibility of abduction and have urged authorities to expand the search beyond the immediate area to include provincial borders and transportation hubs. Martell also noted that certain items found during the search, such as clothing and a water bottle, did not belong to either child. Lilly and Jack are members of the, I cannot say this, Sipanicatic First Nation. In response to the case, Chief Michelle Glasgow publicly questioned the decision not to issue an Amber Alert and called for establishing a national alert system tailored to better respond to such emergencies. Here's a map. This is Lansdowne Station, the little red mark there. And then here's these sweet kiddos. See how detailed this is? This is incredible. So the missing kids, Lilly and Jack, their disappearance timeline. Here, let's start with this. The kids, this has been a red flag for many people. The kids did not attend school that week since Tuesday. They were kept home because Lilly had a cough. So Tuesday, April the 29th, the bus driver dropped them off at home after school on Tuesday. I wanted to open this up. I didn't look at this. Okay, here we go. I can't stand when they do this. I hate whenever you go to click on a website and then they're like, oh, you have to be subscribed to this website to continue reading. Not today. I don't. Not today. Okay, so on Tuesday, the bus driver dropped them off at home after school on Tuesday. The following day, on Wednesday, the province had no school due to Professional Development Day across all schools and public institutions in Nova Scotia. Nothing on Thursday, but on Friday, May 2nd at 10 a.m., it says 6-year-old Lilly Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack are reported missing from their rural home on Gairloch Road. The children were last seen playing in the yard. Mom's statement: they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. I have questions about that. I still want to know. If you were asleep and you didn't hear them leave that back sliding glass door, how do you know they were outside playing? At 11 a.m., following their disappearance, a vulnerable missing persons advisory was issued in Pictou County. Now, this is literally 1 hour after they're reported missing. The Pictou County District RCMP is seeking public assistance in locating Lilly and Jack. Lilly has shoulder-length light brown hair with bangs and may be wearing a pink sweater, pink pants, and pink boots. Jack has short blondish hair and was last seen wearing blue dinosaur boots. Further clothing details are unavailable. However, let me add this part. At some point, either the mom or the stepdad says that Jack may have been wearing brown pants and a brown top. So, Akasha says, what I do know is my son, when he was about 1.5 years, could open our slider doors and they were heavy, and he would open those doors and sneak outside. And luckily we had a 5-acre yard. Let me ask you this, Akasha. Could you hear when your door would slide open? He's 18 now, so he lived. Nope. She says she couldn't hear her door. Well, I can't. You were in a big house, so that makes a difference. They're in a little bitty single wide trailer, right? That's an old trailer, and I can't imagine a sliding glass door being quiet in an old trailer. I just can't. But then again, I wasn't there. I don't know. You know, maybe they had just WD-40'd it the night before. I don't know. At 4:55 p.m. later that day, official update: the search for the missing children, Lilly and Jack, is ongoing. Since just after 10 a.m. this morning, a search has been underway for 2 children who are believed to have wandered from a home. There is a multi-agency response currently on the ground. It includes resources from Ground Search and Rescue from around the province who are collaborating to ensure resources and teams are available on an ongoing basis. Other resources and teams include the Civil Air Search and Rescue, Department of Natural Resources, Air Services, and several RCMP units, including RCMP Police Dog Services, and remotely piloted aircraft system drones. 5:27 p.m., a broadcast intrusive alert was issued extending to Antigonish, Colchester, and Pictou counties. Um, and then here, by the end of the day on Friday, tensions escalated between family members following the disappearance of Lilly and Jack. Some relatives from the children's mother's side accused their stepfather, Daniel Martell, of being involved. Martell stated that after the children vanished, their mother left to stay with her family elsewhere in the province and has since blocked him on social media. There was an argument in the yard that day. Martell said, "My mother had to kick some people off the property because they were accusing me of being involved, when I'm the only one still here fighting for them. It's sad." I will say this, and I'd like to know what you guys think. For her to be blaming him that something that happened, do we believe that? I mean, not that do we believe that. I believe that they were saying that he had something to do with it. But she knows him, right? If she didn't believe that he would have had anything to do with it, why would she say that? The only thing I can think of would be if she was blaming him to take, eyes off of her. You know what I mean? They must have kept it oiled up, I guess. I don't know. Akasha said it's real weird they couldn't find those kids, though, if they just wandered out into the woods. It hadn't been that long, and they were little. I know. That's what some of us were talking about yesterday. They should have been easily found. Either that or they were missing a lot sooner and a lot of time went by before they called 911. That could be another option. So there's some dispatch audio. A lot of it is really long. I haven't opened any of these up. I don't want to click on them because I know that Plunder had a lot of the audio, and she went through and sifted through and pulled out what she thought was relevant to, be heard on her channel. So I don't know. I know these files are probably very long. However, if you want to check them out later, you're more than welcome to. Again, the link to the website is in the description box. What is the parents' lifestyle like? I don't know. I do believe that I heard early on that substances were found in the house. But I don't know if they used to be users of something or currently are, or I have no idea. And I don't know that the substances being in the house was true. I read that or heard that somewhere, but I haven't confirmed that, so I don't know. The next day they continued the searches, May 3rd. Let me go through. Here, this is from the interview that he gave. Daniel Martell shared the following account with news outlets regarding the disappearance of Lilly and Jack. Early morning, Martell says Lilly came into the room multiple times while Jack was likely playing in the kitchen. Shortly after, he believes the children quietly opened the back sliding door and went outside. This says their boots were found beside the door. Now, later we hear that they find boot prints or a boot print like 10 feet away from the back door. So, was it a different pair of boots? Or I'm confused about that. I don't know what that means. Moments later, it says Martell assumes they exited through the back fence and left the property. Upon realizing they were gone, he says he immediately got in his car and searched nearby dirt roads, culverts, rivers, and streams. Approximately 10 minutes later, Martell returned home and resumed the search on foot. That's confusing. What do you mean approximately 10 minutes later? He says he immediately got in his car and searched nearby dirt roads, culverts, rivers, and streams, and then 10 minutes later he returned home and resumed the search on foot. I don't know what that means. I mean, if you're trying to say that you only searched for 10 minutes and then returned right back home, you're not going to be able to search dirt roads, culverts, rivers, and streams in 10 minutes, if that's what that's supposed to say. I don't know what that means. Hey, Susan, still listening. Good. No, Spins, I don't know. I don't know that he only looked for 10 minutes, but that's sort of, I mean, the way that this is worded, maybe it means maybe it means the last place he searched was 10 minutes away from the house. I mean, that could be. But the way it makes it sound, is it just me? Or is it making it sound like he only searched for 10 minutes? But I know better than anybody, you can't search all that in 10 minutes. I don't know about that. I'm a little confused. On 7:30 p.m. on the night of the 4th, it says the search continued throughout Sunday. There are approximately 130 searchers during the day and dozens of more support staff. As you can see by the photos, a large-scale effort such as this does require leads in various roles. There were drone teams in the air as well and a helicopter. Additionally, there were 5 canine teams. 3 of the canines were with heavy urban search and rescue from Halifax, as well as 1 GSAR canine and 1 Royal Canadian Mounted Police and Nova Scotia canine. There were 10 search teams on the ground today. There are 12 search teams planned for tonight's 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift. May 5th. This was kind of interesting, I thought. It says stepfather was interviewed by Pictou County RCMP for hours. RCMP state that there is no evidence of foul play or abduction at this time. An Amber Alert is not issued. A vulnerable persons alert is broadcast locally. RCMP spokesperson Carly McCann said no Amber Alert will be issued because there are specific requirements for issuing an Amber Alert, including the belief that a child has been abducted. There's no evidence of an abduction, she said. They are believed to have wandered. She added that they are not believed to be with an adult. It's going to be a multi-agency response, and there are a variety of resources going out. I would like to know what makes them think that they're not believed to be with an adult, you know? I mean, again, that would assume that they were abducted, right? They don't believe that they're abducted. But also, I would like to know what they see that causes them to believe that they couldn't have been abducted. You know, there may be more evidence of an abduction if they were abducted from their home, you know, like a broken in door or window or footprints or fingerprints or something left behind. But let's just say, for instance, the kids were playing out in the yard, and potentially someone stopped at the end of the driveway and they were like, hey, free puppies or free candy. You know what I'm saying? How would they not, like when in their investigation, how would they not believe there's an abduction? Unless they see something that makes them, I don't know. You know, they say that there's no evidence of foul play or an abduction at this time, but they're currently, you know, going to be leaning more into investigating versus searching. So, I don't know. Spins it has to be an abduction. Yeah. Or presumed to be an abduction, and they really want to have like car details of like a car to be looking for. It is super weird, right, Akasha? Right? Just poof. Like Sebastian Rogers. Like Summer Wells. So many others. On May 6th, this is 4 days after they went missing, it says items are found during the search, including a child's clothing and a water bottle. The children's stepfather states that these do not belong to Lilly and Jack, raising questions about their origin. Okay, I don't want to repeat a lot of stuff because some of this is pretty repetitive. On May 7th, it says RCMP collects evidence. Officers arrive at the Sullivan residence and ask Daniel Martell to turn over his phone. Martell states that he complied and handed it over. Family declines to comment. When asked by the reporters about the investigation, Cindy Murray, the maternal grandmother, which would have been Malaya's mom, responded, "We're not discussing anything right now. The police told us not to." That sounds kind of odd, too. There's another case where that's happened. 2:11 p.m., the RCMP announced a scaling back of ground search operations, citing extensive coverage of the terrain and a lack of confirmed sightings. Investigation continues, but fewer searchers are deployed. Okay, on May 8th, aerial and tech assisted search. RCMP conduct an aerial search of the dense forest behind the Sullivan residence using a helicopter. Plainclothes investigators return to speak with Daniel Martell. He reports they are seeking to analyze any technology that could help identify phones that entered the property. CPS involvement. According to Martell's interview, his friend drove Martell to the Children's Protective Services office in Stellarton, where he requested to see his 16-month-old daughter, Meadow. His request was denied. Martell's statement, as of now, I can't be around Meadow. With the kids going missing, CPS wants to keep a tight leash on everything. I'd heard that before. But in the press conference, they said they didn't think it was an abduction. They used all that manpower to search the woods. It just doesn't make any sense. Hope they don't end up being part of the missing 411. Sebastian Rogers' case is heartbreaking. It is. It really is. Miss King said, I think with an Amber Alert, you need something like a car or seeing them with a person. I think that's why they issued a vulnerable person alert. Yeah. Gail said, that's odd. They could have had a supervised visit if they were just being cautious. Yeah, that is weird. I don't know. And see, people were speculating online about whether the mom actually had the daughter. But according to this, it says that they were in, it was a CPS thing, but maybe, you know, I have no idea. You know, there's so much that's up in the air, you know. I don't know. On May the 9th, Martell emphasizes cooperation. He states he has been fully cooperative with investigators. I gave them everything from my phone. I asked for a lie detector test and drug tests. I'm the only one trying to move this forward and give any information that I have. Tech and digital investigation. Martell says RCMP are examining the home's wireless router to determine who connected to the internet and when. Ongoing search efforts. A large RCMP truck was in the area. Daniel said that RCMP searched Lansdowne Lake from the air via helicopter and also conducted an in-water search, but nothing was found. Okay. To date, more than 180 tips have been received from the public and are being followed up on. Can you imagine? That's a lot to have to sift through, you know? And officers have so far identified 35 people for formal interviews as part of the investigation, which include community members and those closest to the children. Okay, let's see. Searches continue with nothing found. And then the last update was from 2 days ago. It says search resumed for the missing siblings, Lilly and Jack. We continue to ask that the public avoid the search area to allow trained searchers to do their work. And then at 5:56 p.m., RCMP update, ground and air search efforts were conducted today, May 18th, in Pictou County as the missing persons investigation into the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan continues. More than 115 volunteer searchers from all over. Search follows a large-scale air and ground search that began on May 2nd and was scaled back on May 7th in favor of more specific searches. And then the rest is mostly just source links and such. Here are some photos we can look at. Akasha said, okay, isn't that what Lori just said? Like in her last trial, that she emphasized how cooperative she was with the police. Yeah. And that's something that a lot of these folks, these like people who analyze behavior and speech and stuff, say that um, you have people who are but like both sides of the spectrum, right? You have those who you can't hardly get to speak at all, like Kaylee Anthony. And then you have others who you can't get to shut up, you know? So, and I'm for the ones that you can't get to shut up, because eventually they're just going to back themselves into a corner with something that they say, in my opinion. But let me look at these. This was the actual advisory that went out. Missing vulnerable person. And it just gives their description. And then this is the flyer. Beautiful, beautiful kids. I need to get that big PDF thing out of my face. Okay. Beautiful kids. This is the back of the house. Well, won't let me zoom. No, it won't let me zoom. But there's a magnifying glass right here. I wish it would let me zoom, but it won't. So here's the back of the house. And you can tell they don't live that far off the road. And you can't tell me, they said that the kids escaped through the back fence. Martell assumes that the kids, snuck out the back door and then snuck out of the gate or the fence. Well, you can tell by looking that it wouldn't have been hard to get out from behind the fences, but they're not very far off the road. From the overhead map, like the aerial map, it looks much further back, but from this view, it don't look that far away, And I'm wondering if that is Daniel Martell's ATV out here in the front yard, in front of that first car in the driveway. Because I was reading somewhere, someone had mentioned that they saw a picture of it and it looked very clean. So, I don't know. They are in a very remote area, Donnie. Yes. Very. Yes, yes, yes. So this is a side view of it. And if I'm not mistaken, this camper that sits back here is where the Martell's mom lives, in this camper that's back here in this little clearing. It's very rural, but they're also on a highway. You can tell this is like a highway. It's not just some little piddly country road. But still, when you look at an aerial view from much further away, you can tell there are no other properties around them close at all. So you can see they've got the fenced in yard in the back. And it looks like there's an outbuilding over here to the left of their backyard. And then a barn or outbuilding. Looks like they got a little swing set slide. And then to the right of the picture is again that camper where I believe his mother lives. Closer up view. Hold on a second, you guys. I've got to cough. Their grass is green, right? They got pretty grass. Pretty grass. Okay. There's the RV. Closer up view of the RV. And I bet this is where their chickens stay but I don't see any chickens. But I remember hearing or seeing somewhere Martell, the stepdad, had said that Jack and Lily like to go hunt bugs to feed the chickens. Donnie, I know. I'm the same way. And you know what? I honestly, as bad as I hate to say this, I think that that's how I don't want to say that that's how it should be, but I mean, you know how they always say if a spouse, if a wife or a husband is murdered, they always like want to check the spouse out first before they move on to other. It's the same thing here, you know. I mean, the only way that I wouldn't look at a parent first is if the said children weren't in the parents' presence at the time that they go missing or have something happen. You know what I mean? Okay, the parents wasn't anywhere around them at that time. Okay, so who was? That's where you begin. Who they were with the last time. That's where you start looking and investigating. And I think that's just smart and natural and normal. But it just boils down to, did they wander off? Or did something bad happen to them? And someone close to them or someone not close to them do something to hurt them. You know, that's kind of it, because they didn't just poof into thin air. You know what I mean? So yeah, Akasha, right. The closest to them and the last person to see them. Exactly. That's where you start. And until they can be ruled out, I mean, God forbid, Lord, in the name of Jesus, protect my family. If something were to happen to one of mine, I would want them to rule me out. It would hurt for them to look at me and think that could potentially do something to my kids. But also, I get it, you know, I get it. So rule me out and then get to the person that did do something. But like I said, in the name of Jesus, whoosh it away, whoosh it away, whoosh it away. Okay. So, that's kind of where my way of thinking goes. I don't know. And And that's another thing that I kind of like have said too about like, because I follow behind the scenes the Sebastian Rogers case. I don't talk about it on the channel much because there's too much surrounding it that I'm not interested in getting into, you know. But I feel like for parents who get upset when they are being looked at is a red flag for me. You know what I mean? It's a red flag for me when a parent is like, how dare you look at me, blah, blah, blah. Because it's the first place they look. And it's, do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, as parents of kids, if those of you in the chat, from the parents, if one of yours was to go missing, God forbid, as hard as it would you be offended if they look at you? You know what I mean? Or would you want them to be like, check me out. I didn't do this. But I wouldn't be like throwing fits that I'm being looked at. Because I would have nothing to hide. I think if you have something to hide, that's when you're going to throw a fit. I don't know. Akasha said, I would not at first, but if at some point it felt like they were spending too much time trying to pin it on me and not looking for my kids somewhere else, I would be. That's different, though. I feel like that's different. But I totally understand that. I totally understand what you mean. Especially if you know that you know that you know that you did nothing, right? Exactly. Because we all know that's happened before. It has. It has. Absolutely. Miss King says, absolutely look at me, but look other places too. Right. Right. Good, good, good. Glad that you all understood where I was coming from. Okay. I would honestly love to see little chickens running around there right now. That would be like, oh. But I see no chickens. I wish that I could zoom in on these pictures, but I can't. I could probably if I like saved them, but I haven't saved any of them. So that's the RV that the mom lives in again. There's the back door. Okay. Ooh, that's a close-up view of the back door. Okay. And then that's a map. I don't know what that is. That looks like Walt Disney threw up. Okay, this is one of the searchers looking at the maps. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Again, no clue what that is. Looks like somebody scribbled. Okay. Flight path. All right. So those are the photos. We went through those. This was community notice that the community that she went to, the what do you call it? reservation. This was just a statement from them, it looks like. There was really nothing in there. It just says that, things like, we kindly ask our community to approach this sensitive situation with compassion and understanding. Please refrain from jumping to conclusions or sharing unverified information, as this can complicate the efforts of the multiple agencies involved in the ongoing investigation. We encourage community members to come together to support one another, whether through sharing helpful information, emotional support, or participating in awareness efforts. Every action counts. And then there's some different news sources through YouTube. Again, this is a great. They don't, Donnie, they're where they live, the houses we were looking at does not, but she allegedly went with her family to one. I mean, I guess that they're members or whatever you want to call it. If I for real thought my kids had snuck out the back door, got lost in the woods. I love my baby, but I would be having my baby left with my mom and I would be out through the woods, right? But also I'm a micromanager. Miss King says the sliding door that makes no noise. I don't believe that. I don't either. Yeah. So apparently, Donnie, she flew there with the baby, allegedly, because she would have protection there. But I don't know what that entails, to be honest. Wanted to look one more time at I don't see anything still on the Facebook page. No updates. Okay, a couple more things I wanted to go through. Here, I found another, he posted this a couple days ago, the Deception Detective. He's amazing. And he shared this video, and I kind of liked some of the things that he said in it, and I wanted to share it with you guys. See what you guys think. Okay. Exactly, Donnie. Protection from what? Him? Or protection from law enforcement? I don't know. From media? I have no idea. No clue. No idea. Wish that I knew, though.
With respect to the spread of misinformation, inaccurate information, and speculation.
Okay, I'm going to just scroll past this part. Okay, here we go.
Certainly get involved and there can be criminal charges laid.
Canadian authorities are pushing back on online speculation about the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan from Nova Scotia, and I agree with the sentiment if they're not talking about simply giving an opinion. But even if they are, I don't answer to them. I answer to you, my subscribers, and you voted overwhelmingly for me to continue analyzing this investigation. So today that's exactly what we're going to do, because there's two new developments that I think could crack the case if they're played right. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For exclusives, early access, and other cool perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. Literally thousands of my subscribers voted for me to continue analyzing this case, so I'm going to assume that we're all at least familiar with it. But the investigation itself into the case is a different matter, because that's had twists and turns almost every 24 hours, including the last 24 hours. So before we grab our deception decks and start analyzing the investigation, here's a quick recap.
These woods scoured for a week without a trace of two missing kids, about to be examined again. Officials now confirming the search surrounding the home of Lilly and Jack Sullivan will resume Saturday, likely as a recovery effort.
The county as a whole and the province as a whole, I think, need to know what happened in this case
Police say the 4 and 6-year-olds wandered away 2 weeks ago and said they had no evidence the children were abducted. But RCMP didn't announce the involvement of the Major Crimes Unit until days after it was brought in, nor that it hadn't ruled out that the disappearance was suspicious.
RCMP declined an interview request and would not answer our questions about the case. For instance, it isn't clear why investigators are so certain the children were not abducted. And
that's why I would like to know, too. I would like to know why they think that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what makes them believe that they weren't abducted? They had no evidence that they weren't. Right. I want to know what they see that tells them that they were not abducted, you know? That's what I would like to see. Also, if you don't already follow Deception Detective, please do. He's got awesome content. His link is in the description as well with the others.
And officials have not said whether they know who, other than their family, was last with the kids.
Now, after dozens of police interviews and more than 180 tips from the public, still no answers.
It doesn't add up at many levels.
This criminologist questioning the way RCMP are sharing information about the case, relying on the public for tips, but giving few details.
Based on appearances, this went in the wrong direction early on, and key momentum and leads were lost when they were out in the fields looking for kids that maybe were never there.
This expert is zeroing in on other aspects of the disappearance, like school being closed, then the kids being home sick the following day.
The 2 days unaccounted before the missingness is just a red flag.
That's a big red flag for me. I mean, it makes me think of, like Harmony Montgomery. You guys remember with Harmony Montgomery? Like, nobody knew where she was. You know what I mean? Nobody was checking. Nobody was, like, reporting her missing forever and ever. Very, very strange. And I feel like a lot of that started when COVID happened, because kids were doing like virtual learning, that kind of thing, you know, and it was easy to kind of get lost in the mix with things. But that was an epic failure. That sweet little Harmony. Oh my God. Donnie said they must know something. I think so. I think that they do. But I think that they're being very hush-hush about it. So, yeah, we need to know, because the RCMP has been effed up investigations for a long time. Have they really? And I didn't know that, Donnie, about the... you posted this a minute ago. She said Indian reservations are very strict. They're not under Canadian rule. In Washington State, I had meetings with representatives on reservations. It is super strange. Well, I did hear or read somewhere that said that they have protection, but they won't be protected from if they've broken laws. So, I mean, take that for what you want, you know. As they keep changing their story, why would you say you think the kids could have gotten out the back fence, but also you're certain they were abducted? You don't know what days they... I know, right? Weird. And like they say that about the boots, that the boots were by the back door. Okay. Were the boots by the back door, or did the kids have on their boots? And he even mentions her having her backpack. And then it says all that they know about what Jack had on was his blue dinosaur boots. But then the next thing you know, there's mention that he had on a brown top and brown pants. So, I don't understand that. That's a problem I have. They were last seen by someone other than family on Tuesday. Oh, okay, Miss King. You talking about the bus driver? Donnie says child services in New Hampshire dropped the ball big time. Oh my God. Not only that, if they really thought that some kids had gotten lost on their reservation, you cannot tell me that they would not be out there looking for them. Right? And that is why they're looking at the parents so hard. Okay, Miss King says yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, here we go.
But for this worried community, what's top of mind now is that the search is resuming, whether for rescue or recovery. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia.
As I said in the intro, there's two developments that could potentially crack the case if they're played correctly. And that's the first one, that the search was paused and then resumed, because that could have been a ploy by the Major Crimes Unit to see how the parents would react. Did they plead for the searchers to remain there and continue looking the way we'd expect an innocent parent to do? Or did they simply shrug their shoulders and not protest too much? Or worse, celebrate the way that Darlie Routier did when she thought that she'd gotten away with it?
Happy birthday to you. Then, on what would have been Devon's 7th birthday, there at the graveside, Darlie spraying silly string.
I was in disbelief.
It was on the local news, and the prosecutor was watching.
If you knew Devon and Damon, you would know that they're up in heaven, and they're up there having the biggest birthday party that we could ever imagine.
What kind of cold individual can stand out there at a graveside and joke about children who have been killed 8 days earlier? And no grieving mother can do that, in my opinion.
If you've seen the rest of my video about Darlie, you'll know that I think the prosecutors read too much into that silly string incident, but it was what prompted them to look deeper into her. So that could be what's going on here with the RCMP. They were waiting for some sort of bizarre behavior from either of the parents when they thought the search was over. But they could have also been watching the parents to see if they did anything that provided new leads to them, like driving to a remote location all of a sudden now that they thought no one was watching them, or resuming communication with each other after they made a big hoopla about not doing that anymore, and potentially saying something incriminating or suspicious, like syncing up their stories or expressing how happy they are that they got away with it, or anything else. But we'll probably have to wait a long time to find out if my hunch about that development being a ploy is correct, because the Canadian police are so tight-lipped. They are masters of tactical silence. So let's move on to the second development that I think could crack the case, and this one's potentially more interesting because it hasn't fully played out yet, the way that the pause and resumption in the search has. If you've binged all my videos in this series, you'll know I was very excited when Daniel Martell said this, but I haven't heard anything about it since.
You said they're flying in someone to do a polygraph test. Is that on you?
That's not just on me, but on everyone. That's what I asked for. I asked for that so early on, and there's not many places that do it in Canada, so they're flying somebody in.
Why do you think you need to do that? Do you think they don't believe you?
I think their side of the family doesn't believe me, and I just want to clear it up for everyone. Clear it up for everyone, not just the people online making crazy accusations.
The fact that Daniel offered to do a polygraph is great on its own, because while polygraphs are fallible, I've explained my many issues with them in multiple videos. It could give police more data to work with. But what really jumped out to me when I first heard this was Daniel saying that the polygrapher had to be flown in because there aren't many in Canada, which doesn't make much sense if you're talking about a standard polygraph, because all you need is one polygrapher to administer it, and there's plenty of those in Canada. So Daniel might have already been laying the groundwork for his excuse when he's confronted later about why he still hasn't done one. In other words, he was bluffing, or the RCMP, and I hope this is the case, convinced him to do a more unique type of polygraph with fewer experts. And that's the guilty knowledge test polygraph, which is mainly practiced in places like Japan. Rather than monitoring whether or not the subject is lying or telling the truth, instead it monitors.
I find that very interesting, the whole polygraph thing. Because he's saying that, that there aren't any there and they have to fly one in and blah, blah, blah. But, I don't know. Oh yeah, Akasha. He should have a lawyer. Him and the mom both should have a lawyer. Kind of out there all on its own. Well, but I would think that, I don't know. I think more than anything what this guy here is doing is trying to say that he's like kind of setting the stage. Like he said, setting the stage for, well, I would do this, but I can't, I'm ready. I want you guys to know I'm telling the truth, but I can't because blah, blah, blah. I mean, you could take that either way. You could take that as at face value that that's what it means, or, you can take it as he's trying to say maybe he's using it as I would do it, but I can't,
Their orientating reflexes, or the small imperceptible things that we do naturally when we recognize something. So the administrator might say something like, did you have fentanyl in your house? Did you have weed? Did you have cocaine? To an innocent person, all these options are equally random, so the theory is that they don't react to any of them. But a guilty person would react to the one that they recognize. You can learn more about this test and all its fallibilities. I'm not saying it's any less fallible than any other sort of lie detection technique in the DD forum. But my main hope is that this is the sort of polygraph Daniel Martell is going to do, because I think this case is uniquely suited to it. And Daniel Martell, if you're watching this, and maybe you are, after all you've said in previous interviews that you're monitoring social media, I've not made up my mind about you. I think you know more than you're saying. So if you're open to an interview, at the very least, I can get your story out to more people. And at the very best, if I'm satisfied with your answers to my questions, I will be your biggest advocate on YouTube. You can contact me through the DD forum or deceptiondeck.com. And as a PSA to my subscribers, although I don't think they need this, and anyone else watching, this channel does not exist to harass, bully, or intimidate anyone that we analyze. Check the end card for my playlist about this case. If you want more, let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing. Until next time, stay true.
Okay. Very cool offer that he just gave Daniel Martell there. Pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. And I mean, this dude has 161,000 subscribers, so, Okay, let's see. I feel like there was something else I was going to share, but I guess not. Nope, it looks like that's all I had in my little lineup. So we're done, guys. We are done for tonight. But all of the things that I shared today, including that Crime Timelines website, is in the description box. So I would love for you to check those links out at your leisure. After our crime cafe at night in the Kohlberger case, I thought about what, Donnie? Dun, dun, dun. How easy it is to get to trusting on IG or Facebook. Oh, right. To get too trusting. Yeah. Well, with that friend of his that was his like co-worker, I forget her name. The one that he got into her house and moved stuff around like a weirdo. Jeez. That's getting weirder and weirder. That story is. Trust no one. Exactly. She is, Donnie. I mean, if you think about it, really think about it. especially around your kids, right? Yep. I've always been that way. Yep, yep, yep. Well, you guys, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm going to scooch out of here. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, and we're going to go have dinner and get kiddo in the bed soon because keep in mind tomorrow, just another reminder, I will not be streaming tomorrow because it's kiddo's kindergarten graduation day. So she will be graduating from kindergarten tomorrow. Now, if something massive pops up, I might spark up a live stream if something big happens, you know. So don't be surprised if you do get a notification from me saying, yo, Jenny's going live in 30 minutes. So it's so cute, right, Patricia? Yeah, she's excited. Dinner's waiting in the oven. I've been cooking this whole time. Go get your belly full. I'm glad you joined us, Akasha. It was good to see you and hang out for a while. Yeah, we'll have big fun. Her teacher said that the kids have been practicing really hard on their songs. Apparently, they're going to sing some songs tomorrow, so I'm excited. I'm excited for her. And then her last day of school is on Friday. I can't believe it. Already, her first summer break. So, all right. I love you guys, and I'll see you maybe tomorrow evening. Maybe. If I do, it'd probably be a later stream like tonight was. So just keep that in mind. Just make sure you have your notifications turned on. All right. And make sure to hit that thumbs up before you leave. And if you're new, I would love for you to stay and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you find out whenever I go live. Goodness knows, I never know for sure what time of the day it's going to be when I go live. So thank God for notifications, right? And it's bumming you out. Notifications from school. Thanks for coming, Gail. Thanks for coming and hanging out. All right. I might see you guys tomorrow. If not, I'll definitely see you Thursday. So I love you. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.